Saturday, 18th of November.
End of a big week.
In the Gothic Quarter, Barcelona.
Amazing.
First impressions of Smart Cities Expo World Congress?
I don't know. Where would you even start? I think the two expressions of the week, drinking from a fire hose and shut up and take my money. So much to see.
Well, 18,500 people were the final numbers.
And I heard 700 booths.
Big focus on smart parking. That was the big one for me.
Yeah. A lot of sensors.
A lot of sensors, a lot of platforms.
Integrators.
Amalgamators. I liked the startup village. You know, how among such a massive tech-heavy, at times, global company kind of show that you've got this little sort of village, full of micro entrepreneurs and startups.
I think the nicest bit was the fact that it was organised by a specific company whose job it is to promote startups. Was it 4 years from now?
Yeah,
and the fact that there's actually a network of people promoting and startups as opposed to just letting people figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that was really, really nice. And something missing in Australia. There is no one, other than some, accelerator programs like Blue Chili, but there's no one representing that cluster.
Yeah.
It's a room for improvement for us there, I reckon.
What I've got to ask you the question. What was the coolest thing you saw? Like, get geeky for a moment. What was the coolest?
Some nice stuff. There's a park bench, I'm sure, with a few benches. That was pretty cool. Bench that had advertising, charge your phone, wireless charging, heating, cooling, lighting, cameras, and you can sit on it.
Yeah,
even if you couldn't sit on it, who would care?
Is that an overkill?
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things. It's just all the tech in one thing because you can. Do you need it? Don't know. Otherwise, I don't think there was any tech I really liked. I just probably enjoyed the people who were doing clever stuff with it. Some stuff I'd never thought of before, and never seen before. And I think even some of the aggregators, like the Nordic Pavilion had a really nice program called City Business.
Yeah.
And they were aggregating a whole heap of people, thinkers, strategists, deliverers, the stuff. And I reckon that was really nice.
I think my favourite is still the contactless payment system to get on the bus.
Yeah.
You just walk
on the bus,
onto the bus,
and it takes the money off you.
And it takes the money from your card. You don't touch anything. You don't.
No, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool for me.
Electric. That was probably the other theme for me. A lot of electric stuff.
Electric.
Probably, worth talking about, given that Mr. Musk has just released his first electric semi-trailer overnight.
Yeah.
And his electric supercar or roadster car, But there was full electric garbage trucks, full electric buses, and they're actually in use here in Barcelona. The fact that a scooter was more noisy than a bus carrying 50 people.
Yeah.
Is amazing. So, there's a lot of electric stuff, and for me, that's more exciting than most things. It's just, why reinvent something and make it autonomous when the low-hanging fruit is just to make it clean.
Yeah.
And I'll go back and retract the coolest thing I saw was that electric bus charging system.
The rapid charger.
Rapid charger that's dropped down, can charge a bus in
six to 9 minutes
and can give it a 50k radius.
Yeah. And you can scatter them throughout the neighbourhoods and cities, and that was pretty good. And it's interesting, so we've been here all week, and of course what's been unfolding back home in Australia is Minister Taylor's Smart Cities and Suburbs funding announcements, so $28.5 million spread around this week to 52 projects. Key themes, common projects funded, smart parking, smart lighting, some urban digital
connectivity.
Yeah, some rapid Wi-Fi, 3D model atlases. I think Newcastle picked up some mobility money, but mobility is a common issue across all cities, and I almost feel like just giving something like electric buses, rapid charging a go on a couple of lines. For me, that's, I don't know, that's probably money well spent that you can then scale and distribute throughout other cities.
Yeah, and I think it's the stuff we've been chatting about during the week. I mean, whilst I think all this smart parking stuff is all great, to me it's just perpetuating people driving cars, make it easier for them when we're really trying to get them to force them to change modes and hop on a bus. Some good decisions are going to be getting people on a shared transport, whatever form of shared transport it is, and make that clean and connected. And then the last step should be, how do you get people to more efficiently drive their tin cans? I don't think we should be encouraging people to be, which I think you kind of are with your smart parking stuff.
Well, I'm always a fan of trying to ground smart cities investments in problems that the city's got. And we know, survey after survey, that most cities in Australia, in the top 3 to 5 issues, we know that parking is an issue, rubbish collection's an issue. So I'm kind of a fan of smart parking, but I think you're right. I mean, if it's going to be so easy to park, quick and efficient, and my app is taking me directly to the nearest park, you've got to wonder whether it's going to result in perverse outcomes. But I think that's where the Congress lacks, right? That's where I kind of want to go to that Congress for the week and not just walk around, a couple of hectares of booths with the most amazing solutions. I want to kind of ground it. It's almost like I want to do deep dives or round tables. I want to sit around a table with a couple of mayors from around the world and some solution providers and policy makers and put the technology into context. That's what's missing. I think you kind of walk into that big hall and you're surrounded by this amazing branding and you're sort of feeling good and very people oriented when you look at the imagery, and then you walk into this hall and it's like 700 stands selling great tech. The connective tissue between sort of the theory around smart cities for people, and then you walk into that place, great tech solutions, but the strategic questions.
Well, I think it's even the delivery. Like, we unintentionally grilled the hell out of a couple of booth operators throughout the week and brought a few of them to shaking point, but like the parking app guy, your question. But how is the city better?
How is the city better?
It's been rolled out. And he was like...
He couldn't answer that question.
No, I didn't get that in my briefing notes.
Jess Christensen Franks from Neighbourlytics showing Australia, demonstrating, as some of Australia's excellence. Frank Zeichner, Internet of Things Alliance. I think we're... and we were reflecting on that during the week. Where are we? Where's Australia in the context of global smart cities? And I mean, this is a great forum to confirm and check in with where how we're advancing. I think we're doing all right. I think there's still. I think we've got some solid policy. We've got a lot of cities mobilising, a lot of strategies. We've got some money flowing now. We've got a federal government that's got a plan. Scaling and replicating is going to be key. It's going to be interesting to see how cities take this investment, this funding they've been given, and whether they can do a one-off and then scale it 10 times over.
And I think that would be my take of where Australia is relative to the rest of the world, is that we've got pilots, they've got mass rollout in a lot of places. Here in Barcelona is a great example. We're not doing a vacuum rubbish system just in Maroochydore or a couple of small hectares. This is rolled out across hundreds and hundreds of blocks. We've got bike share schemes. There was that bike share rack that we were at yesterday. There would have been probably an ability to rack 100, 150 bikes. And they're all out. They're all being used. They're not having debates about dockless bike systems. It's just being in, they're doing it, it works. And
how much does density play a role and the design of the city in allowing smart technology, the opportunity to thrive?
Oh my God. I mean, density just lets you do everything. It doesn't matter whether it's smart, it's just good planning and, just walking the streets. It's just been incredible. We were out wandering last night about 10, 11 o'clock and there's 70-year-old people comfortably walking the streets. There's young girls walking by themselves. It's safe, comfortable to get about. There's people everywhere. so many shops, like laneways and activations every which way in the world, which only works when you've got people to support it. I mean, this plaza is a great example of uber density. I mean, I'd hate to think how many dwellings a hectare it is, but it just works.
Well, it's only 1, 2, 3. It's only four stories high.
Yeah, but it's just everywhere. It's 5 stories. 4 or 5 stories, and they've never given it up. It's just such amazing density right here. But it allows you to do La Rumba. It's the most amazing pedestrian boulevard that you'd ever see anywhere in the world. 30 metres building to building. There's only 2 lanes, so 6 metres out of 30 for cars. The other 24 for people.
See, you can't detach city design and citizen experience from tech. I mean, you can't. I think this is still one of our challenges.
Yeah.
We're not really integrating those two things.
No. This Austrade mission's been amazing,
Yeah.
The fact that you got, I think the Austrade commissioner who brought us here said at an event the other night, it's the first time that a trade delegation's left the country for smart cities. And I was sitting there going, no, it's not. What it actually is the first time that 20 smart city people from Australia have ever been in one room together.
Yeah.
The fact that we happen to be in Barcelona to me is actually relevant. So for me, that's been the valuable bit. And I think that where Australia will now benefit is just the soft network that those 20 people, the so-called leaders of the smart city revolution in Australia, the fact that we're now all patched together, which, other than a few people, like you obviously knew a lot of those, but the fact that now there's this network of 20 people all plugged in, I think we'll see that in 12 months' time, that will be a strong group.
The benefit of it. It's kind of sad that we got to all come to Barcelona and take a week off to sort of network and see each other. And it sort of says to me that when we get back home, we got to work out some better way of dedicating quality time. I think this is why we struggle sometimes as well, because without time and allocating time, you don't get dialogue.
Yeah.
You might get chatter, and a 5-minute conversation, but you don't get dialogue.
It's been the dinners, the social events, the time in buses, on trains that have been the valuable bit. It's just those dialogues.
So here's the next round of questions. Let's talk about this. It wasn't just the expo we went to, but all the side tours and meetings and briefings and things like that. I mean, I spent most of Monday, which was the day before the Congress opened, I was out at I was off-site at an SAP digital exchange day, and from people from all over the world. And what I loved at that day was this keynote at the beginning by the CEO of the Barcelona City Transformation Agency. So he used to be the deputy mayor of Barcelona, and now he's the head of that agency within the city. And just, he told the Barcelona Smart Cities story, and it was just so grounded in. It's kind of like everything they did was through the lens of community benefit, community culture, quality of life.
But even the name Transformation Agency implies a call to action and a mission. Just imagine any Australian government having a transformation agency, and I'm not talking cultural, organisational change. I mean change out on the streets. I think we're so much in this defensive mode at the moment, which is how do you move into a positive world where you're defending people against urbanisation and changes in my suburbs, and don't build that here, and I don't want that train line there. We've got a long way to go before. But anyway, that's the challenge ahead of us. But when you were at that event, we were out at 22 Barcelona's
I'm kicking myself I didn't get there.
Innovation District, 20 years in the making, governance and government model, and just what they've achieved out there. But it's like this amazing innovation district that is actually working. It's not just.
Is it just a university?
No. Major companies, people living, schools, kids, people, metro lines, light rail lines, experimentation, 6-star.
But who's running it?
It's now this kind of joint group, private company with the Catalonian government and a range of institutes. So it's kind of like one of those.
It's got its own entity, has it?
It's got its own entity.
It's like a special purpose vehicle type thing.
Yeah, part private, part government. Each part knows what they need to do. the important stat was that in terms of the dollars put in, it was 1.2 billion, of which government's only kicked in 200 million, so less than 20% catalyst investment. The rest has all been done through private infrastructure, and it's all there. And they've got major, they've got knowledge clusters, they've got incubators, they've got everything out there, but it hasn't needed to be helped along.
I want to change gear, talk about data for a moment. I can't. That real-time dashboard of Shanghai at the Huawei stand still just, hits me in the face full on. Just seeing how data is being gathered, it's being analysed, and then presented in a way in which it's just intelligence. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of talk, and this was the subject of part of Frank's presentation. Around the value of privacy, and that continues to be data is at the core of the smart cities movement, or data and then converting that into intelligence, but security, privacy is still the Achilles heel. Trust.
Look, it was interesting. There's we've seen a few booths there where our photo was taken from a camera which you could even see next to our faces on the screen, and it was matching it and tracking us, and we saw the example where they were taking it and matching it in an airport to people's passports, automatic.
Does that freak you out?
Well, it does. Look, in an airport context, it does and it doesn't, because I know that's security, and I prefer to kind of safely arrive where I get to. But if it was in a city context, no, look, it doesn't freak me out, but it would freak a lot of people out. Yeah. The fact there was the other one where it was doing the automatic car tracking, people tracking, bike tracking, and they could. It was, tell that you were a male, your height, and you're wearing a brown T-shirt.
That's right.
And a little text, and they're tracking people. So
at an intersection. That's right. Brown car, red car, white truck, male with short sleeve yellow T-shirt, all in real time.
Yeah. Which you move into these AI algorithms and how that's going to be used for security. But interesting, talking to Daniel from the city of Perth, they're using that for antisocial behaviour in Perth now, so they can track. And they were talking about even being able to use it to monitor people sleeping rough.
For me, that's just because you can then look to prioritise support programs and initiatives. That's just that's the smart. That's data gathering, analytics, sensing. That's smart cities at its best, isn't it? Helping quality of life.
Yeah. Well, it's what you guys at the Smart City Council with your Compassionate Cities program, and I think that's probably a piece that was missing from this Congress. Actually, how does that stuff move from widget into the world? The data stuff, Frank was great, and again, I think it showed Australia's not far off not leading the pack in terms of some of that IoT security stuff. And his thinking, he's doing that. There was a really interesting conversation in that panel around how important the trusted use of data is, and this idea of no one knows what it is yet until it's been misused, and this really scary proposition that people will be able to keep experimenting until there's a mass mistrust of data, like an incident, like health reports, public data, addresses, photos that just get completely sent out into the world. But then talking about this idea of how long until we see our chief trust officer, chief everything's, when are we going to get these things? The data stuff was great. Huawei was amazing, but a lot of dashboards, there's a lot of dashboards, but it's all useful, but I've long said to you, for me, it's important to feed the data back in. It's one thing to have it, another thing to actually do something different or check that you're doing the right thing about your data usage. So closing the loop for me around is the important thing on data. And again, I didn't see a lot of that being done here. Real time monitoring of the city, sure. But there was a real absence of strategy and thinking. And
I was going to ask you that. What does it say when there is... I couldn't find anyone that was in the business of thinking strategy.
Yeah. No. Well, it says to me there's a big opportunity, so maybe I'll be back here in 2018 with a booth selling strategy. I think maybe that's just done. Maybe we're so far behind in Australia, we have to keep thinking about that we need to do it. Maybe everyone else has just done it, so they're like, well, I don't need to talk about that because it goes with it. But I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I kind of got the impression from, mingling, and there's a lot of people just doing stuff, like, a lot of solutions looking for problems as opposed to a lot of people looking for problems.
But it's still good, right? You're still a believer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Firm believer,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do another report back right here in the square in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what...
Having just collected the Smart City Award for Future Street, perhaps?
Yes.
We might have sitting here with a trophy.
That's exactly right. Who knows? But we'll wait and see. 12 months goes pretty quickly. And I think 2018...
12 months in the Smart City world goes even quicker.
It does. And I think 2018, with what's happening at a federal level, the excitement, just the 20 to 30 people that have formed pretty close relationships on this trip, I'm excited for next year.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay, until next year.
Adios.
Great.